Thanks for coming in, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
How are you?
I'm really good.
State of origin is rugby league Christmas. When the federal budget drops, is that like economy Christmas? Are you all like super excited?
It kind of is. It's really embarrassing to say that we all just nerd out, and it's really cool because, oh God, listen to me, really cool. You get to put your phone away, get handed a big stack of documents, and just sit there and just read through what the government's up to. And it's kind of fun. It doesn't sound like fun when I say it now.
Well, it kind of does. Why should we give a shit about the budget?
Well, all of our money, right? So it's all, we open our wallets to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars every year, and it's kind of interesting to know where they're going to put all that money. So, you know, the sort of the changes are often, you know, little tweaks, but, you know, depending on who you are and where you work, it can make a big difference, I reckon.
So I'm the product of someone that is most definitely the son of both of my parents. They're both doctors, all right? And they were both very interested in culture at the same time as being interested in science and stuff like this. So I learned a lot about music. I learned a lot about art. I learned a lot about performance from both of my parents. And just yesterday on the plane, I was helping Wolfgang learn how to draw. He's really interested in Transformers right now, and he wants to draw one of them, Elita 1, the lady one. And I said, mate, everything's just circles, rectangles, and triangles. And we went through a picture, and I showed him, there's a circle there, there's a rectangle. And he's like, he created, he's 5. At what age did you start to understand what deficits and surpluses started to be?
They're the circles and the triangles, I guess, of my household.
Were you sitting there eating cornflakes and Dad's like, okay, so there's a surplus of milk here, son. You've gone into a cornflake deficit. The balance is all out. Way too milky.
Yeah, a bit like that. Wasting your money had a very serious chat behind it in my house. If you came home and you'd bought something stupid, it was like, did you really need to buy that? What's that going to do for you? But I'm actually just squirreling away the circles and triangles because I got to use that. That's a ripper.
It's real good.
But look, for me, so my dad taught me how to drive, and a memory that I firmly have is we used to get in the car. I was on my learner's permit, and he would just answer the phone the whole morning on our way to wherever, and it was him talking to his producer at the ABC, whose name was Marco at the time. I'll never Marco, and it was just launch off into long chats, and all I wanted to do was understand what was going on in those chats, and so I kind of sort of, without deliberately doing so, I just wanted to learn the language to speak with him.
So he didn't infuse it upon you, or?
Absolutely not. Oh. His biggest piece of advice coming up was, don't be a journalist. If you are insistent on being a journalist, don't be a financial journalist. Strikes 1 and 2 right there. Whoops.
So at what point did you start to realize that you understood the way that money worked and therefore how the country worked a bit better than your friends?
Look, I started working as a financial markets reporter straight out of uni in my early 20s, and it was just sort of this immersive thing of now you're learning about how to read a market update from Woolworths or BHP or whatever, and it's a very kind of daunting thing at first, and then over time you find out you're observing something that is very big and the wheels are always turning, and then after a while you can kind of start to see the light and shade in it. You can kind of start to see the humor in it. You can kind of become, someone who is able to watch the play and the dance as it unfolds. And I'm by no means a financial expert in that. I'm not sitting on top of a huge property portfolio or a pile of gold or equities that would make anybody sweat. But I love the kind of the dance of it all. All these people putting on their suits and kind of being very serious, even though in many ways it's kind of absurd sometimes.
I understood property portfolio. The other two things you said I did not understand, which is probably why I am where I am and my super looks like it does. Though I've spent a lot of time in America, and I have mates at the big kind of, big firms, the big ones, and they're partners and stuff like that. They're all as tall as you. They're all as good looking as you. How did you avoid becoming the banker wanker? Like,
there weren't the invitations.
Get out!
No. No. I never really thought about going into the actual making of the money rather than just the looking at it. I don't know. It's a funny thing. I kind of I came out of uni and I just sort of thought, yeah, I'm going to be a journalist. I didn't really pursue much else.
Right.
And like there's been opportunities along the way to get out of journalism, of course, but I never really thought too long and hard about it. There was always too many interesting things going on.
What do you think the allure is? Because it's quite the trope. And there's wild studies about it. something about how many guys at Goldman are over 6 foot and used to row. Nearly all of them. It's extraordinary.
The boys' club.
Yeah, they're good-looking fellas. They're all real tall. What is it that you think is the appeal of that path? I mean, you didn't trot it, but I'm sure you got mates that did go that way.
Oh, look, I mean, yeah, I've got mates who are, all these lawyers heading for partner, and, I interview and deal with people in the finance space all the time who are killing it, but they don't have much of a work-life balance. I mean, the appeal of it is money, frankly. Like, it's very hard to live in a big house in Sydney or in Melbourne or in Queensland, anywhere really, unless you have family wealth or unless you're in one of those types of jobs. And so I think there is absolutely an understandable drive to want to get there. And so I never sort of disparage people for wanting to do that, but it seems a little bit soul destroying to kind of be grinding away at that sort of pursuit all the time. I mean, you didn't kind of go down that path. You must feel the same way.
So, yeah. I've got mates who are, I'm, like I told you before, I'm just turned 51. And so there's other guys that I went to school with that are now C-suite. And like, yeah, maybe it wasn't such a great idea, because I'm looking at the rest of my work years. But then again, like, I don't think I could show up to work every day and do that. I don't have that in me to do that. There's something in me that wants to get out of bed and connect with people in a different way than just the pure, acquisition of cash and capital and power. It's not for me.
I get that. I mean, you want to learn and you want to kind of do interesting things. And I think those C-suite people, that's stressful. There's always someone trying to get your spot. Like, once you're at the top of a big organization, there's a reason that the average amount of time they spend in there is only a couple of years. And then where do they go after that? I mean, they've got other stuff, sure, but they have to make millions while they're there, and they have to fend off people all the time. It's simpler to just report on that. You know what I mean?
At what point, speaking of the reporting, if there's one thing that I just love about your work, it is, and it's something that I really align with, because there's a couple of years, like this is the first year I haven't done the comedy festival in a couple of years. I was doing a fake news show down there, and to avoid getting sued for defamation, because we were reporting on real people doing actual things, we decided to make the moral question the joke every time. It wasn't a failure of this politician or that politician. It was the failure of the policy, moral, as far as like a general moral value, collectively held value. And I see a lot of that in your work, and I'm wondering how that first started to appear to you. Of like, hang on a fucking second, like, this is not okay that these companies are making this much money, and at the core of it is this clear moral choice to just rot and gouge and sometimes destroy people.
Yeah, thank you. It's really that's really nice of you to say. It's look, it's been something that's developed slowly. I was reporting these stories, and the thing about journalism, all kinds of journalism really, is that there's structures to it. You play within the boundaries that have been set over decades of this business being made. You interview these types of people, you put together the story in these types of ways. If you watch the news or read a newspaper, you can see the structures because they're taught. And I came home, and I was coming home a lot, and I was talking to my wife, Susanna, about the stories that I was covering and about what had bothered me about them, whether or not there was something that I wasn't really able to get across that I wanted to. And, invariably we'd end up chuckling between us about the type of silliness and what would it be like to be in those boardrooms where they come up with those decisions? I mean, could it be as ridiculous as, well, how else can we make money out of these people? Can we squeeze them anymore? Is there anywhere we're not squeezing them? And we kind of ended up just sort of having this little laugh. I bet it is like that. They're just people. Like, they're not, like, yeah, they've gone to uni and they're smart, but sometimes they're a pack of idiots as well, surely. So,
I can do the swearing for you. It's okay.
Is it okay?
I saw you. You can swear all you like.
Thank you very much. We go up to crap in my world, no further.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sometimes not even crap.
Oh. What if you're reporting on a 1-for-1 toilet paper company?
I think we're allowed to say shit in certain circumstances. Or if I interviewed you and you said shit, then that's going up.
No worries. Of course.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's what I say. I can do all the swearing for you.
Yes.
But what I love about that kind of, it's essentially what you're doing is satire, but rather than political satire, it's almost financial satire, which I really, really love. There's something about satire which is super duper powerful, and that it can change public opinion way more than any editorial or any big front page or anything like that. Because if the moral question is the thing that is the joke, like particularly you did one on tap and go fees, and it was just like, if fucking hell, man, I knew they made money, but I didn't know they made
billions. Yeah,
that is just,
and these things develop relatively quickly. Like, the problem with me and everybody is that our notions of things are kind of caught 5 years ago. Things change faster than we kind of catch up to them. I mean, a lot of people still feel like 2000 was a couple of years ago. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we have this anchoring thing that we do. And I think with things like tapping, a new innovation comes along and it's really great and it's really accessible, and bang, 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 away you go. And then before you know it, you kind of, what is this extra 10 cents I'm paying every time? And how much does that add up to? And you kind of, you're so deep in it by the time you catch up to what's happening that, you're a bit lost.
So let's use that as a bit of an example. What does that 10 cents add up to?
$4 billion a year nationally. I mean, internationally, it's much bigger than that. Like, it's, and the thing is, it's all like, so there's a little radio frequency. This is amazing stuff to me. And apologies in advance if it's not to you, right?
Don't worry. Don't let the T-shirt and the motorcycle fool you. I'm a fucking nerd, man.
I know. Like, so the radio frequency stuff goes back to, World War II planes. How do we identify our planes as opposed to others? And it kind of, it started getting used. I've got a swipe card that works on a security pass. These sorts of things have been used for decades. And then around early 2000s, Visa and MasterCard popped it into their cards and they introduced this PayWave idea. Took a little while to take off because none of the merchant terminals could really do it. So after a little while, the merchant terminals catch up. Everybody starts putting the PayWave stuff on their phone. And instead of having to insert your card or swipe your card, which is a little bit of a hurdle to the payment thing, it became seamless. And that is what payments have to be. If a business is getting your money, they want it to be like that. But if you want to kind of communicate with them or maybe ask a question or make a complaint, no. It can be much longer and harder. But getting your money has to be so fast and so easy. And so when it started becoming a matter of tapping your card and then tapping your phone, I mean, you're off and racing. Like, people, there's no more mental arithmetic that needs to happen. Somebody says, tap your phone here, and you go bang, and then you're away. You're gone.
I've got my thing. I've left. I'm down the street.
Deep in our brains, there's this thing that's been written quite a lot about by academics called the pain of paying. If I hand over a $20 note, it hurts. There's a part of my brain that just doesn't like it because I've accumulated, I've worked hard for it. If I'm tapping my phone, none of that, bypasses it entirely.
It's the same reason that you have a chip at a casino. You trade your cash for this thing because you're not seeing your $100 note. It's just a little green piece of plastic. Off it goes.
Perfect example.
Oopsie daisy. It's out.
And that's kind of how it feels. Is that invariably, businesses like casinos, other people see that is that has some depth to it. A supermarket, you put the good stuff at the back. You don't have clocks. You don't have windows. These sorts of things, like the casinoification of other sorts of business, I guess.
It is playing, at the core of it is playing on our psychology and that, no, but I want this coffee now. Now, I'm tired and I want that cinnamon scroll now.
Yep.
And I paid in Brisbane yesterday, I paid $8 for a iced long black in Strathpine in Peter Dutton's seat, no less. I was like, Jesus, fuck, I have a coffee machine at home because I'm no you, but I'm like, this works out way cheaper. If
totally.
It's also better. But when it comes to something like that, so let's take the argument again. Say if you make, $4 billion a year coming out of just punters' savings accounts. To start talking about, well, hang on a second, is this a good idea? What's the argument against that? What's the business community? What do the people that own these financial transaction companies have to say about, hang on a second here?
There are some, it is convenient.
Yeah.
It is secure. If I lose my debit card, someone can tap it. If I lose my wallet, someone can just take my cash. But if I'm tapping my phone, I have to have the facial recognition or maybe the thumbprint software. That is secure. And that's a fair point, I think. You don't have a lot of risk anymore that somebody else is going to pickpocket you and run around town. You have a lot of other risks. Scammers are just loving the digital economy that we've gotten ourselves into. So look, there's a lot of ways that you can kind of justify these sorts of changes. I think anything where there's a conversation to be had, these people are very good at arguing their points. You're not going to sit them down and change their mind, and they're not going to unring the bell of digital payments and that sort of stuff. We're there now. Mm-hmm. But I think broadly, the problem that I have is that the tactics of confusion are so lucrative now, and they're so widely used. One of the ones I like to talk about is telecommunications. I mean, what is a gigabyte actually supposed to cost? Who knows? They tell you the numbers that they want you to think, but what is kind of riddled throughout that sector is good old-fashioned behavioral psychology. They want you to pick this number and not those numbers, and so they'll give you 3 options where one of them, stands out to you quite nicely, and that's the one they want you to pick. But, the idea that a gigabyte should cost, $10 or $20, nobody knows, and so people just go along with it. In India, a gigabyte costs basically nothing because in 2016, this company called Jio came along and built their whole new infrastructure and just decided to disrupt it themselves. There's issues with that idea, but the problem is the structures that we are really relying on are only 1 or 2 steps away from getting the arse blown out of them by a disruptor. And the confusion is kind of just passed around. And it's frustrating, I think, to see as it happens. I mean, we've all been there. You kind of just go, what is this charge? Like, why is there some sort of service fee and a handling fee? Why, if I wanted to buy a ticket to go to a show, do I have to have a ticket processing fee if it's a digital one on my phone? What's going on here? And you kind of have no recourse, nowhere to turn, nowhere to share your frustration. And unfortunately, the cynic in me and the kind of the grim sort of underlying tone of these videos is that it is inescapable, and all you can try to do is laugh about it. Yes.
For someone like me who has a hard time with all this kind of stuff and is just complete prey to this tactics, what do you call it? The tactics of confusion?
Yeah. That's how it feels, yeah.
Yeah. How can I avoid getting stuck in this kind of thing? What's the thing that I can start to look for if I'm trying to change my internet provider or trying to get a different phone plan?
Look, the unfortunate thing is they just keep saying shop around, which is fine, but it puts the onus on you. Like, how much time do you have to shop around for insurance, your telecommunications provider, your phone plan? Like, all of these things, one after the other, mortgage, 5 different types of insurance. I kind of talk to people about it as like, the darkest day of your half year. You have to sit down and think about all this stuff. But if you just sort of say, okay, that's my bad day where I'm going to have to do all that, then you'll probably end up saving quite a bit of money by doing it. It's the loyalty. I hate loyalty in our economy. Anything where a business is trying to get you to not look at the competitor for pricing and for service, I really don't like that. So loyalty programs, I don't think are worth it. Pretty much blanket rule there. I know a lot of people are going to be listening to this and saying, well, mine is though, because, it's a credit card that gives me points or because it's an airline that gives me points. And, the ACCC last week said, look, for one of the big supermarkets, we're talking a 0.5 cent discount for every $1. Like, you're giving them a lot of data. You're giving them everything about you on a platter, which then, I don't know anybody who reads the terms and conditions, but they can usually package and on-sell that. And the person that's calling you from a call center trying to hassle you for whatever it is, you've probably given your information to somebody who's then sold it to that person. So the cost is there. It's a bad exchange rate, Here's all my information. What am I getting in return? Some vague notion of reward points somewhere. So I don't like that. I think if it were me and I was sitting down with somebody, I'd say interrogate your loyalty programs and whether or not they're worth it. And try to shop around as best as you can and be as disloyal as possible to businesses.
There's a point in my life where I was just there's a reason why I got financially fucked because I spent a lot of money when I was still drinking and using, but the after effect of one of them is I got lifetime gold status at Qantas.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It was pretty good.
That's the exception.
It's fucking close to platinum lifetime. Stop drinking and stop doing all kinds of dumb shit with business class flights. For the first time ever, for what that means is that when you're traveling with the kids, you board first and you get to the lounge. For the first time ever, yesterday, coming back from Brisbane, they made the first boarding call. I was like, oh, that's us. We get up, boop, you're in the next group, sir. Hang on, what? They've put another fucking tier on top.
Yeah.
I was previously top tier, and now there's an even specialer tier.
Changed the rules of the game halfway through on you. Don't you hate that?
Where's the respect?
There's
Lifetime.
Oh, no.
Lifetime gold. So annoyed.
Yeah, that sucks.
When it comes to an election campaign, you can get away with a lot. Like if you and I are running against each other, I can say, if you vote for Chris, your taxes are going through the roof. I don't even have to show proof. I can just say they are.
That's true.
He's got a plan. He wants you to never go on holiday again.
Yes.
He wants you to always board last. A vote for Chris is a vote for boarding last. I don't have to prove that. But you can just say all kinds of wild shit, particularly when it comes to very complicated economic problems. Like cost of living has got to be a 300-headed beast.
Yes.
There's no one reason. But you can say in 2 sentences, I'm going to fix that.
Yeah.
Can anyone fix it?
The cost of living thing?
Yeah.
Geez. I mean, no. Look, no. It's a big issue that. I think the one of the most interesting things to me about this whole election campaign is what they're not talking about. So you're right. They're throwing haymakers at each other, as every political campaign has always done. But what they're really trying to do is get out of the way of probably the Reserve Bank, which has the biggest cards, in its hand right now. Because the market's expecting 3 more rate cuts this year, which would probably, if you've got a $600,000 mortgage, let's say, probably puts $240 in your 270 actually in your pocket.
I love that you just did that in your mind. You fucking did that in your brain.
Well, no. I mean, I kind of.
No, you are David Helfcott as far as I'm concerned right now. You are like.
It's all a trick, Osher. But so let's say 270 a month in your pocket. The government is talking about potential $20 a month from mid next year onwards. The coalition's talking about dropping fuel taxes and maybe saving you $14 a week. This is helpful, but the Reserve Bank's the one that's going to be really making a play here. And while they were hiking rates all the time, all the political bodies wanted to do was say, got nothing to do with us, guys. And so now, when rates are probably going to start coming down, it's interesting to see whether or not they're going to start taking credit, or whether or not they're going to say, this is the economy righting itself. So I think that's a big one to watch.
What are some of the other things that they're not kind of deliberately not talking about?
I'm glad you asked that, because the one thing that's been bothering me lately, and no one seems to be talking about it, is home insurance. It's such a big issue, and they don't have anything in the budget.
Particularly if you're north of the Tropic of Capricorn.
Yeah. So this is huge, right? We talk about, energy rebates, we talk about fuel taxes, all these sorts of things, tax cuts in general, but there are large parts of the population now in very hazardous areas who cannot get insured at all. That's going to be an issue. You got a population, about 30% can't afford the insurance they've got, and almost all of them are underinsured because the cost of building a house has gone up through the roof. So I think there's a big problem there. And I think, if Cyclone Alfred had have touched down in, southern Queensland and northern New South Wales, Category 2 winds would have been a huge problem. Because if I'm not mistaken, anything below Bundaberg doesn't really have to be built to withstand Category 2 winds. So I think insurance is a really big one. And I think we're going to have that conversation pretty soon, because more and more houses, more and more homes and viable building land is going to be seen to be unusable.
I had the CEO of the Climate Council in here the other day, Amanda McKenzie, and we were talking about this because I've always thought for a long time it's going to be the insurance companies that drive climate policy, because if we can't insure our homes, if a big disaster comes through and empties an insurance company out, what does that do for our ability to do business in Australia?
Yeah, well, it's a massive problem. I mean, we all need insurance just to kind of get by. I think the housing markets, a lot of real estate agents are now starting to see a lot more people do their due diligence, including, is this a flood risk? What am I going to have to be coughing up here in terms of insurance costs? Whereas rewind even a couple of years, that wasn't so much of a consideration. I think it's becoming much, much more front of mind. It's affecting where people can and want to live, which affects where people can set up big businesses. And, we've decided as a country, for the most part, that we want people in the office as opposed to working from home. Well, that kind of that makes it difficult to just head wherever you want to head and set up your life. So I think, places like Melbourne is sprawling right out. I mean, Melbourne's an enormous city, as is Sydney. I mean, if you put a Melbourne or a Sydney in the USA, it would be the 3rd biggest city in the country over there by population. And yet over there, those big cities, they all kind of go up, we're going out. So it affects everything. I think insurance is a massive one.
Because without if the insurance companies go under, that was a big part of was in 2008 when everything fell apart. Was it AIG, I think? Because if an insurance company goes under, how does that affect the economy?
Yeah, well, all the insurance companies get their reinsurance from bigger global insurers. So all of a sudden, if the maths aren't mathsing, people start pulling out, and all of a sudden you're left with one or two insurance companies that start jacking up their prices. I mean, insurance is a price on risk. If we're deciding that these sorts of things are more risky, then the price goes up. We can't afford it. All of a sudden, only a few people can have the luxury of being insured. The flow-on effects are enormous.
It's so interesting that the moral question of climate action or social policy even isn't the one that gets the thing done. It's the money. And it's sad, but a part of me had to come to a grips with that going, look, if it's money, it's money. Okay, if you've decided that helping this, 12-year-old boy by providing him some social services now so we don't have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to keep him incarcerated once he's 18 until he's 50, great.
Yeah.
Not because it's the right thing to do, because it saves you money later on.
Having a conscience costs you a lot of money, You want to get rid of that conscience. Come on, man. You're right, though. It's a calculation. You got to figure all that sort of stuff out. Like, business is always evolving and changing, and the pricing of risk is constant.
In the election campaign that we're in right now, what I love is that for all the where's the details of Peter Dutton, I just love that I got to admire a man who's so less than a year later is bold-facingly go, oh, the details will come on the nuclear thing.
Nuclear thing, yeah.
The details will come.
Yeah.
Like, what the, how, because the money is a coward, right? If anybody wants to know what's happening, look at what massive BlackRock and shit like that. What are they doing with their cash? Where are they pulling it from and where are they putting it to? Money does not like uncertainty. Money doesn't like long-term risk. When someone like the coalition here in Australia is pitching nuclear as a long-term energy option, how do we even assess that? How do we get our brains around, is this a good idea, what the price of energy will do for Australia and manufacturing in 40 years when it's ready?
Well, it's so hard to put that onto people without any realistic pricing strategy. I mean, how can you assess it? Long-term, I don't know, maybe. I mean, we're talking so much money over such a long period of time. And I think they've kind of gotten the hang of the fact that that's too far in the distance. Now they're talking about redirecting gas and keeping 20% of it here in Australia, all that sort of stuff. And they're talking about fuel and the sort of the here and now. I mean, I think that was a very interesting moment of policy. Everybody sort of knew that energy prices were a big deal, and the Dutton shadow cabinet clearly decided that we need something big here, something eye-catching. Look, it was just too light on the details. Where we don't know how much it's going to cost, and that's such a big part of it. I think the real stuff to look for when you're looking at a campaign, an election campaign, is not the big stuff, because as you say, where's the detail? I think the small stuff is where you should be looking. Things like, when I was in the budget, one of the things that caught my eye and I thought was very interesting was the banning of these bogus non-compete clauses that are in apparently 3 million Australians' contracts. If you're a hairdresser, it might say you're not allowed to work for a competitor for 6 months after you leave here, regardless of the circumstances, within 5 kilometres. Or if you're a tradie, or if
Well, mate, if you're a fitness instructor, if you're working as a PT at
Precisely.
the whatchamacallit 24-hour down the road, you can't then go and work at the other. If you work at the red one, you can't go work at the blue one.
Yes. So this sort of stuff has bled into every part of the economy, it would seem, for no good reason. We're talking cleaners who are not allowed to go and clean a building across the road for fear of some vague notion of legal action. Of course, it's not really able to be pursued, but the problem is people don't have the resources to take it to an employment lawyer. They just look at it and go, okay, I'm not allowed to do it. So Jim Chalmers came through and he does a tour of the press gallery, and we when he came to us, we said, so what's the deal with this non-compete thing? And he says, well, we got the Productivity Commission to look into this, and they said that the highest yield, lowest impact way to get wages moving is to get rid of all this crap that is stopping people from, getting a 5% pay increase by going across the road. It's awful because it stops you from having to, like somebody goes, hey, I can get a better job. I can get more money at this other place. And then if you have this non-compete, can go, no, you can't. Ha ha. Instead of, stay here, I'll make your life better, I'll pay you more. which is supposed to be, if you're a desirable employee for the other person, you should be getting as much money as you can. These are the little things, I think, that make a lot of sense. And I mean, obviously, the coalition has some smaller pieces of policy that are interesting and worth looking at as well, whether it's housing policies or if it's the fuel tax excise stuff. But I reckon, if possible, people should be looking at the lower level, stop halfway and look at what they've actually laid out on the table. As for other pieces of policy, look, I like that the coalition's going to put aside a few $1 billion for urgent infrastructure. Sort of lower to the ground stuff, water, sewage, that's going to hopefully help some of these new places that we want to live be more habitable, I suppose.
I love that you said habitable rather than habitable.
I put the emphasis on a different syllable there. Oh.
It's perfect. See, if the suit didn't show you originally, like this is how you become a professional journalist. It is an addiction. I discovered yesterday I say the word drawing with 2 R's.
I think that's okay.
Audrey was like, it's a W.
I
thought it was drawing.
No, that's okay though. The thing is, when I said habitable just then, I knew it was coming in my sentence and I was like, oh shit, here we go.
Can't stop it. It's already out.
And then I tried to cruise past and you saw it.
It was beautiful though. It was beautiful. But I know the feeling, because having been a broadcaster for a long time, you have to your brain has to be 20 seconds ahead, and the mouth stuff, those messages have already been sent. You can't stop them once they're gone.
That's a perfect way to say it.
But it's true though. You're like, it's going to come out and I'm going to have to, okay, then I've got 30 more seconds before the news. Okay. How am I going to handle this?
It's such an awful feeling. It's such a grim feeling. And then it comes out and there's this pause where you go, yep, it did. It happened. Okay, keeping on going now.
What's something that we really need to understand going into this election about how our economy works?
I think our economy is changing faster than we give it credit for. We have been an economy that has gotten a lot of prosperity out of digging stuff out of the ground and selling it to China, more specifically than anywhere else in the world. BHP is no longer our biggest company. CBA is.
So one was a mining company, the other one was probably their bank, but is a bank.
Exactly, right? So, the business of selling rocks to China is now not necessarily as big as the business of selling debt to all of us in Australia.
So it's tap and go fees, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but also it's interest we pay on our debts. It's the fees that they charge us, which, God, there's a long list of fees. Like when we rock up to get a mortgage, we're so happy that they're going to give us one, but we ignore the fact that we've just paid $600 for them to look at the mortgage application, $400 a year to have the mortgage, another few bucks here and there just to have an offset account. They hit you every single time. I mean, not just CBA, of course. This is banking in Australia, but the business of banking is incredibly rich now. As far as a sector, it's huge and growing all the time. Our banks are some of the most valuable, according to their market capitalisation, in the world. So Australian economy is about financial services to Australians, because we're not really, our banks service Australians for the most part. And they're getting huge. Their share prices have gone berserk in the last couple of years.
If a bank is more valuable than our previously most valuable company, which was selling raw materials and commodities by the trainload to other countries, that is a lot of fees.
It is. It is an intimidating amount of fees. Them. Well, yeah. I mean,
Sorry, it's because you use your own eyebrow to put the punchlines on your videos, and then when I see it live, it destroys me. I see the guy. He's in there. The horrible weasel man in the boardroom.
How can we get a couple extra fees out of them, guys? Yeah. Is there a way? Is there maybe just an extra $10 a month? They're not going to notice, surely.
But it comes back to the conversation we're having. It comes back to what's the price of a gigabyte on a mobile phone.
Yeah.
Surely it's just, what is the price of having one formula on this cell on a spreadsheet, calculate with another formula on that cell on a spreadsheet? Apparently $600 a year.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
I don't give it back to you if your application is not successful, by the way. That's theirs now. Keepsies, mine, $600. But you're right.
It's not like it's someone's hour of the day. They're running it through a machine
100%.
that spits out the top 2%. Yeah, these are no problem.
Yeah.
There's probably the next 10%. I'm probably going to have someone look over this, but they won't look very long. And then the rest are just, sorry, you get a form letter.
That's right. I mean, and we've got four big banks in Australia. They all charge basically the same. Like it's conspicuous.
If you were gonna disrupt the banking sector, how would you do it?
I would try to get as many people as possible to bank elsewhere, smaller banks. We've got 98-ish lenders in Australia, and yet 3/4 of the market use 4 of them. I like that we have lots of lenders, and they are really scrappy at times. They try to offer lower interest rates and fee-free periods. I don't know. I think there should be a lot more due diligence encouraged out there for people to sit down and kind of have a go at it, because, we're kind of at sea here. Like we get told, yeah, here are your bank options. But in reality, we've got a wide world of banking. This is a very interconnected world. You could have a bank offshore if you wanted to. You could have any number of smaller lenders that you may never have heard of until you sit down and start researching some of the better fees and some of the lower interest rates for, deposits, say. Yeah, I mean, that to me would be a big one. We're kind of semi-risk averse in Australia, so we tend to keep our money in the bank as well. I mean, if there was an opportunity for people to start getting a bit more okay with the idea of index funds and low-risk stock investments, I think that'd be probably for the best too.
Your half-yearly hard day.
Hard day.
Put in your half-yearly hard day.
And it's all day, by the way. Like morning till night you're sitting there looking at, but it pays you money. Like that might be a solid amount of money if you can just sit there and do it.
You talked about the ACCC just before. There was a report handed down about what supermarkets are doing with their pricing.
Yeah.
Labor are going to the election saying they're going to bring in some sort of UK-style law. I don't know, man. These supermarkets are pretty powerful. Like, is someone going to end up with a cabbage in their bed? Like, what's going to happen? Sorry, half a cabbage. Someone going to end up with half a cabbage in a bed?
Tomato sauce all over it. I think it was a really good report. It was 441 pages. I didn't read the whole thing, but I looked through a lot of it, and it did a beautiful job of detailing the problems that we have in Australia when it comes to our 2 big supermarkets. They just don't compete that much. It had a lot of solutions. The big solution, though, is to try to get another Aldi in the mix. We've had little Kaufland from overseas coming in and sniffing around in Australia, but they've decided not to hang around. If you were asking the government, how are we really going to fix this supermarket issue, the question really is, what kind of carrot are we dangling to get more big supermarkets to sort of come in and break it up? Because it's got to be a market-led solution. You can't just come down hard on anyone who's trying to do what 2 big companies at the top do, which is dominate the market. I mean, they're sharing somewhere around 68 to 70% of the whole grocery market share between them. They've done it. They've kind of done it. Like we're going to have to, come in and break them up? I don't really want to do that. You just need somebody who's going to steal their market share away from them the way that good businesses do.
Have we ever broken up stuff in Australia?
We have not. We don't have those laws. Huh. They have them in the US. They brought them in to break up Standard Oil, which was the Rockefeller, owned 90% of the oil market, and they came in and said, we don't like this anymore. And they broke it up. And so they've got those laws in their books. They would never use them now.
They did the same with the telco. They did it with AT&T.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, there you go.
Broke it apart.
Yeah. So once you get too big in the US, there is that big stick. In Australia, there's been a few people who've talked about bringing it in. There's not much political will to do that. I think you probably don't need to in Australia. You just need to encourage more competition.
Because the flow-on effect to the punter, but also to the farmer and the providers and the transport sector. Yeah. Speaking of fees, you listen to how some of these providers are being charged. Like, they bought 100,000 kilos of beetroots off me, but now I'm getting stung for this fee to get it. It's like bananas, and they can't get out of it.
That's right. It's kind of heartbreaking. Look, I think the supermarket's defense is always that this isn't that good of a business, you guys. Our profit margins are like 2.5%, 2.3%. And we're all like, oh, okay, fair enough.
What are their profits?
Oh, billions.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah. And that's right.
Done it again. I love
it. Hey, follow-up questions. Come on. like 2 and a bit%. I don't know. Look, the problem with that is all their costs that they've piled into their own bloody businesses. Like they all offer you 28,000, like 28,000 different things you can buy at a Coles or a Woolies. At Aldi, there's 1,800 different things you can buy, which is a cheaper way to run a business, and so their prices are lower. So it doesn't really matter what their margin is. It's just that we've been kind of, these two have competed in this very specific way of outdoing each other.
Yeah.
In maybe a way that we didn't specifically ask for.
Yeah.
Do you really need eight different types of raspberry jam? I don't.
No. When I lived in America, I did my groceries at a place called Trader Joe's, which has, I'm going to get corn chips. There they are. That's the one packet in the one size.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was the whole shop. It was excellent.
Yeah.
You didn't fuck around. You're in and out in 5 minutes.
Totally. I mean, that's it. The problem, of course, is that having all those different types of options means that we have this economy of small businesses that can get their products into the supermarket, whereas they're not getting anywhere near an Aldi or a Trader Joe's. So you end up having this trade-off situation. But if all we're interested in is the cost of living and getting our grocery shopping down, then choice is expensive. Having a big, beautiful supermarket is expensive. Having a fresh sushi bar in the corner, that's expensive. Like, you just look at the way Aldi is, half the time, it feels like they're not even turning their lights on in half the shop. And you're like, yeah, sweet, it's cheaper.
And I got a chainsaw.
Yeah, and just quietly, I'm walking out here with a chainsaw, you guys.
Honey, you'll never believe it. You know that bunk, the guest bed you wanted to blow up? Guess who's got an air compressor now? This guy.
Me. Didn't I send you for eggs? Yeah, I can't find eggs. There are no eggs. There are air compressors, though. Like, you joke, I nearly bought a mitre saw the other day at Aldi. And I had to be pulled away from it by my wife.
Are you a handyman?
No use for it. But I was like, look at this thing. Maybe I'll get into making decks or something. Nah.
I love that.
She came over very hard on me and she was like, oi, you back to business.
When it comes to how we are, as you mentioned before, we're a nation of quarrymen and house flippers. All right, that's how we make our money.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we do. And we buy a lot of stuff from overseas. That's how we have this iPad, these clothes, that everything I'm wearing was made overseas. Everything in this room was made overseas. So we have a trade deficit with lots of countries. How does that play into what's happening with America at the moment? And what can either of our parties do anything, if at all, about what's coming?
They can't really. Like, I just don't think either Peter Dutton or Anthony Albanese has the ability to call up Donald Trump and say, hey, man, don't do this. And he'll be like, yeah, sweet, okay. It doesn't seem like that's likely. He's heading down this path. He wanted to do it probably during COVID, and then COVID happened, and then he couldn't. So now he's got this second term. He's going hard at tariffs. They keep saying, the Australian government keeps saying, what's going to happen here is the indirect hit to Australia. Because really, we're talking about, steel and aluminium, as an exported item to the US, well, that's going to cop a hit, and that sucks for the people who work in that industry, but relatively, it's a small part of our economy. Meat, that's another painful one. But, we're not Canada, we're not Mexico or China. This is going to be small. So what's going to happen really is that it's going to be tariffs at 20 paces all over the world. The global trade is going to slow down as a result. China's economy is probably going to weaken a little, and as I said, we do quite a lot of trade with China. So I think that they're right. It's the indirect impact. It's this thing where Donald Trump, we now know what he meant by making America great again is try to undo 50 to 80 years worth of globalization. I didn't know it when he first started saying it. I'm like, oh, wow, so that's what you meant. You're going to magic up the local manufacturing industry again. If we had have known, I mean, the market is now and has this year been pricing that in, and it's all over the place. But yeah, we just didn't quite know what it was that he meant. And now we're kind of figuring it out, I think.
But is he also interested in letting those companies that have offshored their manufacturing, is he going to say, well, you used to build televisions or, washing machines here, and your plant is now a housing estate.
Yeah.
Here's $4 billion to build a new one.
Yeah, good question. I mean, the big car manufacturers in the States have copped a huge hit lately because they're basically assembling cars from parts that they're getting from overseas. So Ford, GM, they're getting smashed on the market at the moment. Their valuations have tumbled. You would think that Donald Trump knew that was going to happen, and these companies were probably briefed and they knew, and they probably argued their case. It doesn't seem like there's much that's going to slow this down anymore. I mean, maybe some things, it seems like Donald Trump is focused on getting the price of oil down. That might be a calculation that he's making with Russia, with OPEC. You know what I mean? Like, so he's that could be part of the offsetting factor, because tariffs are a tax on people, your local people. You have to pay the taxes. If you want to buy something, they get passed directly onto you. So people are going to turn around and go, hey, this is shit. I don't like this. And maybe down the track, the plan is to say, well, I've brought down the barrel price of oil quite a lot. You're welcome. Maybe that's it. I mean, that's speculation. Everything's speculation at the moment.
But now if I want to get the medicine for my kid, it's $700 because it comes from Switzerland.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's certainly breaking a lot of eggs to make these omelets he wants to make.
Hey, there's an egg shortage.
Yeah,
What are you
there's
doing?
that. I mean, which is a fascinating thing, because we're eating so many more eggs. I saw this piece of data that showed that our egg consumption's gone up. So this egg shortage hurts way more than it used to, Osher. But yeah, I don't know. It's a killer. Like that thing, that is the big one. I mean, we're doing pretty well in our Australian economy now as opposed to a year or two ago. But that's a big scary at the moment.
So I know you got to go, but I kind of have one kind of final question. It's around, we were saying like coming into this election, there's a lot of stuff these two guys, leaders of these big parties aren't really talking about. That night that you were at the budget with your big 400 pages, they said they brought in a deficit. Now, I saw some data the other day that equated something $24 billion, that if you added up the tax not collected off negative gearing, tax breaks to the super duper duper wealthy, and the diesel fuel excise, it's pretty much around about $24 billion. And so we're in a deficit because we've decided to be. And that makes my coit hurt.
Yeah, look, you can look. A lot of people take the numbers and then rearrange them in lots of ways. You just got to think about.
Have I been hoodwinked by that?
No. I don't think so. I think that's probably accurate. It's just about, is there any political will from either side? I mean, are we going to vote them in either side if we start mucking around with negative gearing? I mean, you could argue that a massive thing to do in Australia would be to introduce an inheritance tax of some description. We don't have one in Australia, and globally that's kind of unique, especially considering how much wealth is about to be passed from the boomer generation to either X or millennials. But that money, whether it's super or housing, provided it's the primary place of residence, is going to be going, straight through, which is sort of great for a lot of the people whose parents have done well. It's not so great if your parents haven't done well, but you could be earning a lot of tax like that. You could be coming down hard on big businesses or billionaires, lots of different things. But in the end, these parties have to win elections and they have to court certain types of votes. And they've clearly done the maths that 10 years worth of deficits is more palatable than mucking around too much with the tax system.
When it comes to the inheritance tax, I'm an immigrant. Both my parents are immigrants. My wife's parents are immigrants. And like a lot of Australia, a lot of people have arrived here in the last 30, 40 years. There's going to be a point where those people outnumber everybody else.
Yeah.
And it might be like, hey, you guys have had time in the market. All you really did was buy a house in Epping when it was a country town.
Yep.
And then you just sold it for $8 million.
I know.
I'm not saying redistribution. That's a kind of a bit of a pinko word, but it wouldn't mind like we shared about it.
Look, it's a big area. That's a lot of money. We're talking trillions. I mean, the housing market, the Australian residential housing market's worth about $11 trillion. Superannuation, $4.2 trillion. Commercial real estate, roughly $2 trillion. I mean, that is such a huge amount of money to be not touching on the way through. I mean, when I say that, I say people passing away and there's an inheritance involved. It just feels like that's got to be a conversation at some point. Politically, suicide to bring it up right before an election. 2019, we were talking about negative gearing and that did not go well. And that was one tweak. Think about something as huge as an inheritance tax.
We're going to have that conversation sometime.
Seems like it. Seems like it's coming at some point.
That and the insurance one.
Yeah.
One hard day, every half a year.
Yep.
We'll sit down. So this one we'll talk about insurance. The next one we'll talk about inheritance tax. And then we'll get to our home loan.
Yeah, and maybe that's right. Maybe we could even have, this is going to sound weird, maybe it could be fun. Like who's ripping me off and who am I going to squash out of my life
You just invented a game show.
That's it.
Who's ripping me off with Chris Kohler?
With you. I'd only do it if you're on it.
Are you fucking kidding? I will go upstairs and pitch it. We're in the building right now. I will go upstairs and pitch it. Our first contestant here is Adam. Here's his phone bill. Let's have a look going through here. Oh, there's a fee.
They're ripping you off. What do you want to do about it? Ignore it or do something? I want to do something. Bang. All right. Use your half day.
And you know what? And then you get the sponsors involved because then you get the alternative. That's when you get your Superloop who show up instead of your NBN.
Totally.
And then, mate, it pays for itself. No network will say no. It's on.
We need to do this more chats about this because now we're getting all these great businesses.
I don't understand. Get Cannon Brooks on the phone. I've got a thing for him.
Have you got his number, Mike's number? That's Mike Cannon Brooks, one of the billionaires.
I just dropped a name out.
You know, Leonard Cohen once told me, if you're going to drop a name, drop a big one.
How's you got invited?
No, it's been a pleasure.